welcome Neill Duffy to the stage right now. You all know that the America's Cup is coming to San Francisco. We're so lucky to be hosting it, and Neill is representing the America's Cup and is going to tell a little bit about how we can engage sport for the ocean.
Thank you so much, Christine. And good evening, everybody. It's wonderful to be here tonight celebrating the oceans with all of you. The question that I'd like us all to consider tonight is a bit broader than the oceans and goes something like this. Is it possible, or is there a way that major sports events could move beyond CSR and philanthropy to drive significant change in the world, and in the process make themselves more profitable and efficient? I think there is a way, and that's the idea that I'd like to share with you this evening, and use the America's Cup as an example to bring that idea to practice. But before we do that, I'd like to take you back 15 years. Close your eyes and take yourself back to a time in the middle of the 1990s when a new country was born, the country of South Africa. And why that is relevant is because it's in this environment that this passion that I have for the role that sport can play in society was born. To live in South Africa at that time was an incredible privilege. I witnessed firsthand the power of sport to mend a nation. When Nelson Mandela put on the number 6 rugby jersey after the Springboks had beaten the All Blacks, and 40 million people that had previously been divided became one nation. And it started to get me thinking about just what might be possible if brands, sports organizations, and NGOs were to get together with the intention of making a real positive difference in the world. And I got excited. If we move the clock forward another 15 years, we find ourselves living in a world today where, as a global community, we deal with a number of very pressing and important issues. The good thing is that those issues are starting to become top of mind. And I think sport, particularly major sports events, have a major role to play in helping us to address some of these issues. We need big solutions, we need big ideas, and sport is definitely big enough. Major sports events are definitely big enough to provide some of the answers that we're looking for. There are things happening out there that give me confidence and hope that this is an idea that is of its time and can actually make a difference. Sport is a huge engagement platform. It touches and reaches literally billions of people around the world every day. Few can deny the power and the reach that this amazing platform has. And to give you an idea of that scale, just consider a few of these facts. In 2011, there were 42,500 hours of live sports coverage on broadcast and cable television in the USA. 42,500 hours. Advertisers spent over $40 billion selling their wares and their products during these sports broadcasts. That's a huge figure. What's also interesting is that 35 million consumers in October alone streamed in excess of 460 million sports programs that they watched and consumed. So sport in America alone has huge potential and huge reach. What's also very relevant through all this is that sport is also inclined to make a difference and to act as a socially responsible citizen. Things like the Olympics have for many years embraced initiatives like Sport for Peace, Sport for Education, Sport in the Environment. And here in America, organizations like Major League Baseball, the NBA, and the NFL raise millions of dollars every year for the causes and the things that they support. And more recently, what started to happen is, thanks to initiatives like the Green Sports Alliance, the sporting industry has also started to wake up and take responsibility for the operational implications or impacts of delivering its sporting events. So that's good because we have a platform that reaches a lot of people. That platform is run by organizations that do care. And the other good piece of news is that people out there are also starting to wake up and recognize that they have a role to play. People like you and me and everybody out there also have a role to play in addressing these big issues. A recent survey by Nielsen's done throughout the world showed that over 2/3 of consumers believe that organizations should make a difference and give back to the world, and that they would like to support those organizations. They'd like to work for those organizations, they'd like to invest in those organizations. And here's an interesting fact. Almost 50% of them said that they would be prepared to pay a premium for the products and services of the companies that make a difference and give back. So it seems like the stars are aligning, and we have the right ingredients to put together a program where real significant impact can be delivered. In sport, we have a platform that reaches millions of people, is predisposed to doing good, and is a business at the end of the day looking to grow and make a profit. And in consumers, we have a group of people that have, through their purchasing power and through their decisions, can make a huge impact in terms of the kind of decisions that business takes. So we have the ingredients, we have the willpower, but I think what we have right now is the wrong model. We need a new model. Sports needs a new model that it can take forward and use these ingredients, package them together in such a way that it can not only deliver greater impact for the world, greater than it is at the moment, but it will also make a huge difference to its own businesses. The kind of questions that sports should be asking are the following. How can they treat sustainability, or things like economic, social, and environmental sustainability, as business drivers, and not something that they simply have a moral responsibility towards? How can they make these things part of who they are? They also need to be asking themselves, what would happen if the environment was no longer healthy and we could not hold our sporting events? If the athletes could not compete because the air was polluted, or the sailors could not hold their regattas because there was too much algae and alien species in the ocean that made it impossible for them to sail their boats? How can they best align their assets so that the things that they do are relevant? And how can they re-engineer the total delivery stream of their event business from cradle to cradle so that they reduce their impact? And how can they measure what they do so that they can actually show the rest of the world the impact that they have? So that new model, I suggest, might be something like this, that instead of business for sport, comprising of sport and entertainment, with things like CSR and greening done as an afterthought, how about if the formula could become business equals sport plus entertainment plus sustainability at the core of the business, a central part of everything that the business stands for and does on a day-to-day basis? I think it's possible. And the prize through all of this is that not only will the planet benefit, because there'll be this huge upswell in impact created by the sports industry, but also the sports industry itself will benefit, because they will be able to grow their businesses, grow their reach, and demonstrate their relevance and importance to society as a whole. So you're probably asking, what's this got to do with the oceans? We thought we were coming to an ocean conference. Well, it's got a lot to do with the oceans, because the 34th America's Cup has embraced a lot of these ideas that we've spoken about today. They recognize that there are tremendous benefits for them as an organization to embrace sustainability at the heart of their DNA, at the center of their being. There's a transformation underway at the America's Cup that some of you might have started to hear about, and it's built on 3 pillars. And it's built on a desire to broaden the appeal and the scope of the America's Cup as a sporting proposition. The first of these is about making the sport exciting to watch, which will be achieved by showcasing the best sailors on the fastest boats. The second is to make the sport more accessible to a wider audience by making it easier for them to watch and easier to understand, whether that be on television, online, on their computers, or physically in the events. And thirdly, it's about making sustainability a core pillar of the America's Cup's DNA. It's about embracing economic, social, and environmental sustainability as a way of doing business. Pictures always tell so much more than the words that I can share with you today. So what I'd like to do now is share a short video with you that brings to life the America's Cup's proposition that the America's Cup can be about more than a sport.
Anytime. True chase. Go, Joey. Go, 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 go.
After 160 years of competition, the battle for the world's oldest sporting trophy will be fought in a dramatically different way. The history and tradition remain, but the 34th America's Cup is a brand new game in a brand new place, San Francisco, California, in 2013.
As a sailor, I think it's much more skill required to race in an enclosed harbour like San Francisco, where you've got a whole lot of variables to consider and you've got to react very quickly.
For the first time, stadium-style racing will put spectators at the heart of the action with cutting-edge TV coverage and state-of-the-art graphics for viewers.
Towards the line and a left, an energy cross, only a second between them.
All of this to broaden the appeal of sailing's premier event so that it reaches beyond its historical footprint. All this so that the world can enjoy the best sailors on the fastest boats.
Understand that we've got a problem. The ocean is in trouble, therefore we're in trouble. And here is an ocean sport stepping up to the plate and saying, we want to do something to make the ocean, to make the world a better place.
One of the key changes to the America's Cup is a commitment to social, economic, and environmental sustainability. And a cornerstone of that commitment is the Healthy Ocean Project, a partnership between the America's Cup and leading ocean conservation groups. The project will focus on 3 crucial issues: establishing more marine protected areas, encouraging sustainable sea life choices, and reducing the amount of single-use plastics that end up in the ocean.
The decline of the health of the ocean is a global problem, and the importance of global collaboration cannot be overstated. On behalf of all of us at Ocean Elders, we'd like to thank the America's Cup organization for making this commitment to help us in our efforts and to amplify the ocean's voice so it can be heard around the world.
The 34th America's Cup will use its global communications platform to support the world's largest ocean literacy program and give the ocean a voice. The goals are to get people to care about the ocean and inspire them to act. This is the new America's Cup, more than a sport.
So what are the key learnings that the rest of the major sports industry can draw from the lead that the America's Cup have taken? I think most importantly is the fact that the America's Cup have not chosen their commitment to sustainability and ocean conservation as simply CSR or philanthropy. It touches every single thing that the organization does, from the amount of energy and the type of resources that it uses in delivering its events, from its impact on the natural habitats that it interacts with, from the way that it includes communities and stakeholders, and from the way that it engages with its audiences. There are a number of examples that I can share with you that bring this to life. The first of these is the choice of umpire boats that the organization has made. Instead of defaulting to the business as usual model, the America's Cup organization decided to use a different type of boat, one that was lighter, and although it might have cost a little bit more to buy up front, use 50% less fuel. The net effect of that is that the organization has saved money, but as importantly, it's also reduced its carbon footprint. The second example is the way that the America's Cup is engaged with the NGO community or the non-profit community. It's partnered with a number of organizations that are involved in ocean health, including the likes of Dr. Sylvia Earle and Ocean Elders and IUCN. And it's provided those organizations with the opportunity to use the America's Cup as a platform to communicate their messaging and to get their mission done. And in the process, there's been a very important exchange of value that takes place between those two organizations. And then there's the decision to ban the use of single-use water bottles at all America's Cup events. You will not be able to get a plastic water bottle at an America's Cup event because what happens, well, I don't need to tell you what happens, you seem to know. We don't want that plastic to end up in the ocean. But what that's meant is that we've been pressed to find new ways of providing the spectators at the events with hydration. So they'll be able to buy a reusable water container and be able to fill up those containers at refilling stations. And in the process, what the America's Cup has done is not only be good for the planet and reduce our plastic footprint, but they've also been able to create new ways of generating revenue. And then finally, the creation of a brand new example of how money can be raised for sustainability, the America's Cup Sustainability Credit, which will be marketed to fans, to vendors, to partners, to everybody that the America's Cup integrates with as a way of raising funding to support the sustainability initiatives of the event and help it to achieve its ambition of becoming a model sustainable sporting event. So all this is good news, and there are multiple winners, which is good because it's sport. The planet wins because the ocean, in this case, wins because of all the activity and the increased awareness, the fact that we've been able to hopefully get more people to care about the ocean. And we've behaved sustainably, so we've been able to limit the environmental impact on the event while maximizing the social and economic impact. But it's also good for the America's Cup because it's enhanced the value of the brand, it's opened up new revenue streams that might not have existed before. But most importantly, it's made the America's Cup relevant to the new audience that it's trying to talk to, made it relevant to the 21st century in which it operates. So in closing, I'd like to suggest that the America's Cup provides a fantastic example, a fantastic case study of what's possible when a major sporting event moves beyond simple CSR and philanthropy and embraces sustainability at the core of its being, and in the process delivers benefits not only for itself, but also for the planet as a whole. I thank you for your time, and I thank you for joining us at the America's Cup later in the year. We look forward to a great event. Thank you very much.